We are ready to go. Whoever is here is here. So I'm going to share my screen again. So last week, we discussed the um, controversial beracha on Ezekiel bread. Is anybody bold enough to give us a little summary? Let's see if there's anybody here. My money's on Margie, but I'm saying, let's see. She's not ready.
I'm not ready.
She's not ready. Okay, so let me see. Right, maybe Rini, but I don't know. Maybe she's making her regular challah now. It's Thursday. Looking forward. Um, so I'll just give a very brief recap. We said that the beracha, the most proper beracha that we were saying on Ezekiel bread is hamotzi, because what was the machlokets? We thought it could have been adama, because sprouted wheat might not really be wheat at all, and therefore when you put it together and you make a little dough out of it, it would be adama, because there's no actual wheat there. Most of the aharonim, the gdolim, said that no, there's still a little bit. Two reasons: a, there's still a little bit of wheat there in the once it sprouts, and secondly, there's mostly other wheat mixed into the sprouted wheat, and therefore when you put it together, you're going to you're making it a dough, and therefore it is hamotzi. So that's what we said. We said you have to wash and make hamotzi on Ezekiel bread, but the regular rules of pataba b'kisnin, that anytime you have a grain or a wheat that is mixed in with either like sweets or whatnot, will still be mezonot. So we gave the very popular example. There's like cinnamon raisin Ezekiel bread. So cinnamon raisin Ezekiel bread is going to be mezonot. So while I was doing some controversial topics, I decided to say, you know what, let's make it like a two-parter or a three-parter, depending on how much pushback we get. And I decided to go through some popular items where people are like very weak on what these items are, and then we can get into it and talk about it. So I have my screen shared. I'm going to make it a little larger. How many of you guys can see this? How many? Are we good? Better now? Better now? Even a little bit better now? How about now? All right. So we're going to go around and we're going to have people read and then let the fighting begin. So let's see. Anybody want to raise their hand and volunteer to read about rice cakes?
I'll read.
There you go. Okay, Margie will read. So kavod, Margie.
I'm just reading what you wrote here.
Yeah, just read it.
Okay, so on rice cakes, Ashkenazim say mezonot.
Good. Who's that? Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, who was a big gadol of the last generation.
And Separadim say adama, which
Good.
I guess they got from Chacham Avodah Yosef.
There you go, and I put the source, 2 Bishvat 184. Okay, so for us, we say once. So now, what's the logic here? Rice cakes are made of rice, but they're puffed. So once I have a grain that's not cooked, that's from the ground, it becomes adama. Okay. Now the logic of Rav Shlomo Zalman was that, but when you press it together to make almost like a dough, it's going to be mezonot. Like if you were to eat the rice kernels individually, you would say mezonot. Sorry, te adama. But when they're pushed together and pressed together in a cake, he's going to say mezonot. So Ashkenazim say mezonot. We say adama. Makes more sense to say adama again based on how as it is, because if it's mezonot, mezonot doesn't cover adama, but adama covers mezonot. So when you have a rice cake, you're going to say adama. So now some people say, what about like a chocolate covered rice cake or a peanut butter covered rice cake? So there, I think you're going by the majority. I know Rabbi Joe Dweck in his book was posek, and a lot of people were following that in the community for a while, that anything that's chocolate covered, you're automatically following that the chocolate is the ikad. So I agree with it to a certain extent, but not when the item underneath is so much more than the item that's covering it. Because the next topic, we're going to do what's called ikad and tafel, the main item versus the secondary item. So the secondary item always gets covered by the primary item's beracha. So let's say like a chocolate covered strawberry. So you definitely want chocolate, but you really like the strawberry also. So what's the beracha? So since there's no mezonot in it, you go by the majority. What's more? The entire strawberry or this thin layer of chocolate covering? So I think it's the strawberry. So I would say adama in that case. So I'm saying adama on all of the rice cakes. Margie, looks like you have something to say. Go, Kavod.
Yeah, no, we learned in school that like on puffed rice cereals, that was always mezonah. And
We're going to get down to...
corn cereals were always adama. So this rice cake thing goes against that.
Not real. I guess that cereals are going to be complicated. I have a whole section on cereals right now, so it's a big... That's the next topic. Hello?
Okay. It just seems like it would be the same.
Right, so it depends on what it... But you learned that puffed rice is what?
Is mezonah, and puffed, like any cereal that came from rice was always mezonah, and cereals that came from corn were adama.
100%, and that's going to be majority is like that, but there is a difference between cooked and puffed. So it's not, if it's an exclusively puffed rice cereal, it's going to be adama. If it's going to be a cooked rice cereal, it's going to be mizonot.
Interesting.
Good. Any questions on rice cakes, guys? Anybody, guys? Yeah, we hear you very low, Rini. Like very, 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 very low. Like I was wondering, I thought someone was like singing Pizmonim, but it's really you. I don't know.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, much better now.
Okay. I just had a question, like, because once also we learned in school that whatever you're eating it for, like let's say the strawberry and the chocolate. So I know it makes sense because it's the majority, but I think I once learned something, and I don't know if it's a different like halacha entirely, but that if you're eating it for the chocolate, like you say shehakol or something.
That definitely applies, but it's only after you get through the majority.
Oh, okay.
Meaning there's an order of operations. Like you ever do math? Like please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You ever do that? Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
Right. So you're gonna have to do that first. So that's the last thing on the totem pole is what you're eating it for. Good. Okay. Good. All right. So now we're gonna move on to cereals. Anyone want to take cereals? Who wants to read the first part of cereals? I can't tell if Flowcat. What do you want to do? You want to flex on us? Let's go.
Okay, so tricks.
So what I did was that I first divided it by beracha. So all of these are going to be shakol. So read the list and you tell me if any of them seem surprising, Florence. So read them.
Tricks, Reese's Puffs, Kicks, Cocoa Puffs, Captain Crunch, Cookie Crisp, Shackle.
All of these. So what's the reasoning? The reason is that the wheat starch and the oat flour serve as binders and cannot be tasted. They're not there for taste. So this is a very important rule. Anytime there's mezonot in some, there's a difference between mezonot like wheat flour, wheat starch really, and oat flour. The reason why these things are added, right? Called up the companies. This is like a known thing in the industry, where we see that these items are purely there to hold the mixture together. Sometimes people will put like a dash of wheat into something just to hold things together. Okay, so even though if you look at Cookie Crisp or Captain Crunch and you'll see, wow, there's a little bit of oat flour in it. These items are made of so much sugar, and anything that's remotely either corn or wheat, everything is pulverized into it and restructured into like these weird shaping. Nothing in the world looks like Captain Crunch except for Captain Crunch, right? So therefore it's shakol. The Kix Ballies, right, and the Cocoa Puffs Ballies have been things that are reprocessed, and it's really exclusively sugar, etc., and chemicals. Not the best thing for you, but all these are going to be shakol. Okay, so that's how you know, because the wheat starch and the oat flour are serving as binding it together and not there for taste. Okay, so sometimes you might have to memorize these lists, but again, we looked into it, and these are the berachot of this. Also, this is a good reference. Rabbi Joey Dweck also has in the back of his book a lot of these cereals also. So I just took ones that are popular. Any questions on the shehakol? No, looks like we're good. Okay. Florence, did we lose you? I think we lost Florence.
No, I'm here.
Okay, good. All right,
Okay.
now going with Adama. Ready? So read those cereals off.
Okay. Corn Chex, Corn Flakes, Corn Pops, Frosted Flakes,
But
French Toast Crunch. Oh no, never mind. Not French
French
Toast
Toast
Crunch.
Crunch is shack hole. So why? What's the now? Read the star. When cereal.
When cereal is made with whole pieces of corn and the taste and form are retained, the beracha is adama.
Right. So meaning in French Toast Crunch, again, nothing in the world looks like French Toast Crunch except for French Toast Crunch. But corn flakes, corn pops, frosted flakes, frosted flakes are basically corn flakes with a sugar on it. Corn checks, they're whole pieces of actual corn. So those are cereals that are going to be Adama. Okay? Any questions on the Adama? Anybody have any questions about common cereals? Let's see.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure, Margie. Kavod.
I'm just not understanding. Like a corn pop, it's not. It's also sugar. It's not actually a piece of corn. It's fake garbage.
So the corn pops definitely have a ton of sugar in it, and they're definitely reformed. But since they do have whole pieces of corn in it, that's actually used, and it does have a little bit of the retention in it. That's going to be that's different than, let's say, Trix. Like, let's say if you could picture corn pops versus, let's say, Trix. So let's say Trix also has a corn base, but it's totally liquefied and pulverized and turned into it. The corn pops do have pieces of corn that are almost, let's say, puffed, and that's why they're going to be Adama, even though they have a ton of sugar. So that's really the difference. It doesn't look like a little tiny piece of corn, but they're tiny pieces of corn that are put together.
Okay.
You feel it in the texture, like you have it, like, again, like it feels weird. Like we all had these cereals, which I think is very funny. Like, okay, like when you have Trix, like, you know, like the top of like your mouth like burns a little bit, and like it's very grainy. Florence smiles. She knows what I'm talking about, right? But the corn pops, it's like light and airy inside. You know what I'm saying? Because it's an actual piece of corn. You know.
Okay.
Is that good? Okay, let's see. I don't know if Lynn has a question. I don't know. Rini, are we good? I don't know if Rini can hear me now. Rini, can you hear us? Yeah? Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, good. So now good, and Rini Minesh also good. So with Rini Tal. All right, so here we go. Let's talk now. Let's go to mezonot, right? So I took a couple of that again, and this is really what Margie was talking about. So Florence, just finish us up with the cereals. Start with Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops Mizunah, Apple Jacks Mizunah, Rice Krispies Mizunah, cooked rice.
Right. So that.
Bran.
Right. So I'm saying, so Margie hit on the exact point that I was trying to make before, where you have the puffed rice. It's not, I don't know who taught it to you, whatever. It's not puffed. It's puffed rice versus cooked rice. Any sort of cooked rice, you're right, Margie, is going to be mizonot. So whoever told you that Rice Krispies and mizonot is correct, but the reasoning is because it's cooked rice.
So any cereal that says puffed rice cereal is going to be Adama.
Correct. Now, if you see Ashkenazim, it depends on I don't know if there would be a puffed rice cereal that has like chunks of puffed rice, which have like multiple pieces that are pressed together. They may say mizonot on it based on Rabbi Shlomo Zalman, but like, let's say like a rice cake, because they might say, oh, puffed rice in a rice cake, puffed rice in a cereal, right? But really, the reasoning is because they're pressing it together. Okay? Is that good? Okay, so now let's go through a couple of quick hits. Thank you, Florence, for reading. I appreciate that. That was very nice. Good job. Okay? Now let's go through a couple of things. So number one is bran. So what is bran, just in general, if you just saw this product? So raisin bran is a little bit different. Raisin bran is going to be mezonot because it has bran, but the flakes are actual wheat mixed with bran. So, and it's there for taste. So like raisin bran is not 100% bran. Okay? But if you have 100% bran, so what is bran? Bran is the outer shell of the grain. So it's not the grain itself, but it has a lot of health benefits. So therefore, that item is going to be considered, since you have items that are grown for. Well, let me hold. Should I say it now? Let's say it now. Let's say I have, which we're going to get to it. We're going to get to this later on, but let me just say it now. How many of you guys like hearts of palm? Okay, I love hearts of palm. So when I was growing up, and now I'm like, dating myself, right? And I'm a little older than you guys, right? Is when I was growing up, we were told that the beracha on hearts of palm has to be shehakol. So why? The law in Masechet Berachot is when you grow a tree, you have to decide what you're growing the tree for. If you're growing the tree for the fruit that's on it, so the fruit that's on it is ha'etz, because that's why you're growing the tree. And if you decide to eat any other portion of the tree, that part is considered shehakol. Okay? So where did hearts of palm come from? A date palm, right? Hearts of the palm. What's the palm? Palm tree. So when they were growing the date palm, why were they growing those trees? They were growing those trees for the dates. So you say ha'etz on the dates, but anything else that's a byproduct of that tree is only going to be shehakol. So therefore the beracha on the hearts of palm was shehakol. Now what they started to do was grow separate trees just for hearts of palm with no dates on it. So what's the beracha of that? What would you guys say? Ha'etz. Right, exactly. We'd say ha'etz. Right? Some, or depending on, let's just go down here. Right? So I'll show you what I wrote. You see hearts of palm? It's ha'etz because it's a special tree. And what else is there? There are no other fruits growing on the palm. So once you know the rules, guys, it's a lot easier once you know the rules. Okay? So how many of you have ever heard of that? Have you ever heard of that law or not really? No.
No, it sounds like the rabbis just want to mess with us.
That's our ultimate plan, Margie. You figure this out. So, it's just, we just want to make life very complicated for you.
I mean, maybe you answered this question already, but let's say I'm making a smoothie and I'm mixing together all different fruits, like banana, blueberries from all different adama or etz.
That's going to be our next topic, but the quick answer is that when you're mixing fruits from different berachot, you're going to have to go by the majority, or then if there's no majority, you could just say shehakol, right? Or if there's no majority, and then like what Rini said, that if you love everything is equal, but you love strawberry and you're having it for strawberry, then you'll say the adama. Okay? But if you like everything that's in the smoothie, right, obviously, and everything is equal in terms of measurement, then you're going to say shehakol. So one of the favorite examples that I did give in the first class was strawberry banana smoothie is adama, because strawberry is adama, banana is adama. It's clearly the majority of the drink, and you like both.
By the way, Rabbi.
Yes, Rini.
This is the first time I am learning that strawberries and bananas are adama. I always thought they were ha'etz.
Right now? So banana is complicated because we're going to learn about it. Bottom line is, so I'll just say the halachot as we get in there. A tree that dies from year to year is not considered a tree, and therefore it's adama. But a tree that lives and endures, that tree is ha'etz. So many of the trees and the bushes and the shrubs that they die from year to year, or let's say they die and then they actually die, and then the same bark that was once dead rejuvenates, right? So that's like a banana, right? It looks like a banana tree, but it's adama. Some Ashkenazim, I don't know, I've never seen this, but I know that some Ashkenazim, they eat bananas on the Pesach Seder for karpas. You know how we do the celery? So they do banana because karpas only has to be something. The only rule for karpas is that it has to be something that grows from the ground. So and the beracha is adama. So they use bananas just to teach everyone that the halacha is banana is adama. It's cool, no? Okay. let's go back to rabbis messing with people, brought to you by Margie Matthews. So we have, bran, let's go, we were back at bran. Bran is, again, you're growing the grain for the grain, but now the shell, if I want to eat the shell, let's use the same rule by hearts of palm. I grow the hearts of, if I grow a date tree, why am I growing the date tree? Because I want the dates. The dates are ha'etz. So anything else I eat of the tree is sha'akol. Same thing with the bran, right? The bran is the outer shell of the grain. Why am I growing the grain? I want the grain. If I eat anything else, what's going to be the beracha? Sha'akol. Let's go to granola. Granola is tough one, okay? So if it's rolled oats, which is, that's what granola is basically, okay? So rolled oats, all natural granola, rolled oats is going to be considered adama. If you see that the oats are cooked in any way, like oatmeal, right? Because the oatmeal, it's the same thing. Like if you look at oatmeal and you look at granola, it's the same thing. It's made from oats, but the problem is one is rolled and one is cooked. Once it gets cooked, it's mezonot. Once it's rolled, it's adama. So by the way, this makes having like any granola bars very difficult because like some granola bars are like very natural and it just says like rolled oats and they don't mix anything else in it. So that granola bar is going to be adama. And the same thing with, let's say let's say you buy a lot of Syrian girls, like they just make granola, right? Now, if they're cooking it with other items, like let's say they put chocolate chips, they put cashews, they put this, and then they cook it. So then it's not rolled oats; it's cooked oats, even though it's called granola. You understand? So then it's gonna change and it's gonna be mizonot. If you have a safek, I always tell everybody to say adama because, like we said, adama covers mizonot. So most granola is going to be just regular rolled oats. If it's pure granola, it's adama. But like a Chewy bar or like a Nature Valley granola bar, those are like loaded with like other. I think it even says on the wrapper it has other wheat flour and that's there for taste. You know, again, it's been a while since I've had those, and then I've looked at the ingredients. But that's basic. Those are the basic rules of thumb. So rolled oats adama, cooked oats mizonot. You got to be careful with the granola bars. So any questions on granola?
Yeah, so just one quick question.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Oatmeal that's just rolled oats, but you're putting milk and putting it in the microwave, it becomes mezonot.
Yeah, correct. And if you and boiling water, like the instant oatmeal. So now your hot water is cooking the oats. Does that make sense, guys? I can't tell.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, okay, Rini, I know you're trying to talk, but now I can't hear you at all. So I don't know, like lean forward or something. I don't know. You have the angle. Yeah.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, like barely. You're like a little bat call from like the wind.
Okay,
But yes.
Don't worry.
I got you. No, I got you. Go.
You hear me?
Yeah.
Yvonne wants me to put in the noodle thing I made for Saturday for lunch.
I have it. Oh, I think that's unmuted. Okay, good. Sorry, Rini, go again.
Aside from those granola bars that might be adama, like when would there ever be a time when we're just eating plain oats?
I don't think there is. I think the oats are the popular way to eat oats is like in the granola fashion.
Right. So okay.
I don't know. I'm sure they can come out with some other things. I don't know. Good?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to some fruits now, okay? So let's go back to let's see if Rini Minesh, you want to read? Let's go, Rini. Okay, good. So give us some fruits, just they're mixed up, so just read it for us. We'll go through each one.
Okay, avocado, ha'etz.
And a lot of people don't know that avocado is ha'etz. They think it's just it goes from the ground, but it's avocado tree and it stays alive, so it's ha'etz. Good.
Banana, adama.
Which we explained.
Okay, blueberries, cranberries, guava, all ha'etz.
Good.
Hearts of palm, we already said ha'etz.
Right. Good.
Kiwi, ha'etz, papaya, adama.
The major issues. That's like a huge mahloket, and like there's so much written about papaya. I wish I was like a botanist to understand the issue better. But we say adama, and like again, always default to adama. because adama is going to cover ha'etz in other circumstances, and also it will cover mezonot. So if you defer to that, right? So that's papayas, adama, major issues.
Pineapple and raspberry adama.
Right. Raspberry only has like a few issues with it, right? The raspberries.
Well, they can't make some berries etz and some berries adama. That's crazy.
They can't just do that. It's great. It's great. Well, yeah. The only one that you have to remember, right, so strawberry, raspberry are adama, right? And blueberries are ha'etz. That's the one you have to remember. Right? Okay. All right, Margie, what are we going to do, bro? Okay. So again, some of them you just have to memorize. The last thing that I wanted to stress that I didn't put on here were nuts. Okay, so nuts are easy. I'm just gonna write as we do it. So nuts. So all nuts are right. Virtually every single nut is going to be ha'etz. There's only one exception. It's probably the only one that people eat. Are peanuts or adama. Okay, so like almonds and right, macadamia nuts and cashews. Those are all
I
ha'etz.
took a test this morning.
Oh, okay.
So let's say I have like a fruit bowl and I have blueberries and raspberries. Do I
Excellent.
have to say another? Do I have to say both beracha or do I just say one?
So Florence is asking a great question, even though it's going to be on another sheet. So if the fruit salad is not cut up in a very fine way, and this very fine way would be, right, let's say like the uri salad.
Yeah.
The uri fruit salad, I say ha'etz on because it's got apples, it's got pears, it's got grapes, it's got peaches, it's got plums. All those are ha'etz. It does have melons. It has cantaloupe. It has honeydew. It has watermelon. But that's, you see how I go by the majority. So if it's diced very finely, it's considered one mixture, and then you're just going to consider that as go by the majority. So on Uri's fruit salad, unless they change the formula or whatever, my mom doesn't like, I look at inside my food and I'm like, why are you always looking at your food? Like she thinks I always think there's like bugs in it. Sometimes I'm checking for that, but most of the time I'm not. But in that case, you're going by the majority. If let's say it's just cut up fruit, sometimes people, they put cut up fruits out, but they're very big pieces. Like on the fork, you could only fit one piece. So there you'll take one ha'etz and one adama. So there it does, the size of it does matter because whether or not we view it as a mixture or not. Does that make sense, Florence? Good. Okay. Okay. Any questions, guys, on what we've discussed? Because next week we're going to start already getting back to the sheet. But I was happy to take this 2-week break and just go over more practical things. Anybody have any questions? Any questions? Okay, so it looks like we're good. So we'll sign off, and thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You got it.
Bye.